the general growing awareness of the connection between the problem of money devaluing and life getting harder ultimately is a road that leads everybody to Bitcoin. And, you know, it's just a matter of when.
I love that because it kind of highlights a lot of the things that I'm also thinking about, where you don't really have a choice in this, and this is also what I say to big critics of Bitcoin. In the end of the day, you have the chance of being part or to see the biggest revolution in finance ever. And you can now say, oh, like it's bad for that, or like it has that flaw, or any of those. And maybe you're right. I don't think so. But what if you're wrong? What if you have a small reason why you don't like Bitcoin and you never give your chance to look deeper? So I think Bitcoin is such a big idea with has such big implications that you owe it to yourself to at least look into it, to study it a little bit, because the opportunity cost of missing such a big revolution while you are alive in that area is just so big. And so the opportunity cost of just looking into that 10 20 hours and even deciding what you want to do with that is very low. But the opportunity cost of saying, hey, I don't want to look into that, I don't want to look deeper, I don't have an open mind towards that asset, is huge. You might miss the biggest thing ever happening in your lifetime. And people will ask you what you have done in that time frame. And it's absurd to not at least study it. Like, you don't have to be a permeable like me and just like go all in and like earn it and spend it and all of that. You should, but you don't have to. At least understand why it's happening and what's going on. And I think more and more people actually wake up also in TradFi to see, like, they were haters before and now they like slowly get into them. There's like the finance guy that I see there's now a little bit into Bitcoin. There's like a few people that I saw being very against Bitcoin the last 5 years and now like slowly turning, which is a really interesting kind of effect that I've kind of witnessed. I don't know if you've seen the same thing.
Yeah, I was excited to see finance guys, coming around, and this is getting back to this idea that I think the ETFs have roadblocked some people in their progression of understanding what Bitcoin is, because you can really just stop or stall out at a position of understanding that Bitcoin is a good performing asset, which it is. Um, and then, without interacting with Bitcoin, the technology, you really, that's a requirement to move beyond that into a deeper understanding of how Bitcoin works and why it's a good performing asset. That's the thing, right? Bitcoin is a good performing asset because because of the properties that it has, that is causing people to be like you and I, right? Where we're holding on to it for dear life. And we know that the properties of this technology are highly likely to make it increasingly in demand, and it's essentially solving the most important problem that affects every single person, company, and government on the planet. So it is the most desirable product ever. It is the biggest idea hatched that any of us has been alive to see. It is all those things, but you can also not understand any of that and just know that it's going to go up if you have it in your portfolio. So it's kind of one of these it's a funny time for Bitcoin.
100%. And we were talking about like hold on for the laugh, because I think we both are very big on actually earning and spending Bitcoin, which was very hard for me to get over that hump of spending Bitcoin. It was about, like, I would say now, I don't know, like 8 months, like maybe even a year ago, something like that, where I got over the hump of actually spending Bitcoin, because I started earning Bitcoin for the first time in my life, probably like 1.5 years ago. And when I started actually earning directly, someone that wanted to pay in Bitcoin and I accepted Bitcoin, so Bitcoin wallet from Bitcoin, from Bitcoin wallet to Bitcoin wallet, and from Bitcoiner to Bitcoiner, this made me realize, oh, I get now Bitcoin, and I still have those fiat bills. And so I have to make a critical decision. Do I want to just keep stacking my Bitcoin and use it as a collateral and just like spend my fiat and get more fiat based on the collateral, or do I just spend my Bitcoin? I decided for spending Bitcoin because I don't want fiat debt and I want to use Bitcoin as money as it's intended to be. But it was so hard for me, like the thing that I had to overcome to, okay, for 5 years straight, I said to myself, hodl, don't sell, hodl, don't sell, hodl, don't sell. And all of a sudden, I'm selling. Like, I know spending is not selling, but like it essentially has the same effect that you part with your Bitcoin, even if you sell it for dollars and then spend the dollars, or like you spend the Bitcoin directly. Like it has the same effect in my opinion, even though I like spending more than selling. And so this was really freaking hard for me to overcome that, even though I already was earning Bitcoin. And actually, if you think about it, if you earn directly in Bitcoin, you want to spend directly in Bitcoin because you're saving on fees. You're saving on exchange fees. You're saving on like all those fees that are involved with that. And so if you can just directly earn and directly spend in Bitcoin, that's the best thing you can possibly have, because you live on a Bitcoin standard. You don't need anything in between, and you just like from Bitcoiner to Bitcoiner. But it was very hard. So, what is your kind of experience with like people spending Bitcoin? And also, was this was this also hard for you to like actually go ahead and say that I part with my Bitcoin and I don't hodl hodl them?
I mean, I think that I mean, Bitcoin forces a reevaluation of your consumerism. And so I think for me, there's a big difference between spending my Bitcoin and um, reallocating my Bitcoin. So, like, I wouldn't spend my Bitcoin on a house right now. That's not a trade I would make. But would I spend Bitcoin on a meal? Totally. It's like and so that's where I think, earning Bitcoin is really helpful in making a psychological shift, because if you're buying something like it's a collectible, it's like a piece of art, a baseball card, like you're buying it because you think it's going to be more valuable in the future. You're not going to want to cut the corner off of that piece of art to try and pay for your lunch. And this is where I think but if you're earning Bitcoin, you have it continuously coming in, then you're not thinking about it like a collectible. You're thinking about it like money, which is what it is. It's just money that doesn't steal from you, which is really cool. And so the key creating that inflow of Bitcoin, I think makes it a lot easier. And so it doesn't surprise me to hear you say, because I think I was the same way. But when you don't have Bitcoin coming in, you're really reluctant to see it go out. And this is because every person who's into Bitcoin does, I think, realistically have a running mental tally. Unless you are one of the people who is early enough that you have so much Bitcoin that it doesn't matter. For everybody else, you probably know exactly how much Bitcoin you have. And if you were thinking about making a bigger purchase like a house, it wouldn't surprise me if you were thinking about how much of your stack that was going to take, or like at what point you're comfortable with what percentage of your stack. I think this is the way people start to think about bigger trades, which does make sense to me too. Because honestly, there's no point to die at 80 years old with 100 Bitcoin and have had none of the stuff that you want and done none of the things that you wanted to do along the way, right? Like ultimately, money is just a tool that we use to transform our time and energy into something that we can store so that we can convert it back into time and energy so that we can consume it and use it the way that we want to, and so we have the flexibility and autonomy, choice in life, right? So I think that this is the whole point of money. And so it should ultimately be for everyone, in my opinion, about spending your Bitcoin and probably spending all of it, or like, I mean, whatever you don't plan on leaving to your descendants. But I do understand the reluctance.
It's hard. What do you think? will come first? Is it the people wanting to spend Bitcoin, or the merchants starting to say like, "Hey, like I want your Bitcoin," and then like accepting Bitcoin as kind of a new payment method?
I think merchants, and I think that there's you're already seeing you know the big merchant payment providers starting to look at Bitcoin or integrate Bitcoin, Stripe and PayPal, and you know it when it is it I can never keep them straight because there's Gresham's law and then there's Thier's law, and one of them works the opposite way. And I think it's Thier's law that states that kind of like you want to receive the good money rather than or you want to get the bad money out of circulation rather than keep the good money keep the good money for yourself. I could have completely messed that up. Yeah, I think that it starts more with merchants starting to understand that it's beneficial for them to um because this is already true. It's just there's just not a ton of people that are looking to spend Bitcoin. But I think if you hold out your shingle as a business saying that you'll accept it, you do get Bitcoiners almost immediately. And Bitcoiners, regardless of where they're living in a city, will go out of their way to support those businesses or travel. I think Bitcoiners do like to spend Bitcoin, and if it's coffee shops or whatever, they end up gravitating towards those business owners and becoming interested in the community that comes along with it.
I just looked it up. Gresham's law is the principle that bad money drives a good money in currency markets. What was the other law? Like, I think I never
Fears
heard about
law.
that. Fears. How do you
T
write
T
fears
H
law?
T H I E R.
IER. Did I write it correct?
I might have the spelling wrong. Maybe it's
How about it's a dare law? That's definitely something completely else. Oh gosh.
that's something else.
But yeah, Gresham's law. I was aware of like this the bad money drives out the good money in currency markets because people want to spend the bad money first, and so I think that's also the interesting thing where if you have Bitcoin and US dollars, like of course spend first the US dollars before you touch your Bitcoin, but I went to a standard where I have only Bitcoin. So if I spend now 2 grand on my US dollar bank account, I'm 2 grand in minus. And so I have to wait till I get new fiat, or I have to convert some Bitcoin into there, because I make fiat only a medium of exchange and make Bitcoin my money. So Bitcoin is also my medium of exchange whenever possible, but sometimes I have to use the dirty fiat to make an exchange. And so in that sense, then I make the exchange where I sell Bitcoin and put it on my bank account, because I have to cover the losses I made with not having fiat. And so for me, it's very normal that like bad money drives a good money. It's just that I don't want to have the bad money around. And this is what I I get. I always get that argument in the comments, and I never understand it. People tell me, "Oh, but why would you spend your Bitcoin? I'd rather spend my dollars." And I'm like, I don't have dollars. I don't want to hold. If you want to spend your dollars, you have to hold the dollars, and I don't want to. I don't want to hold the dollars. That's the key. The key difference is like if you only have Bitcoin, that's the only thing you can. Of course, you can go in depth and collateralize and all of that, but I'm not a big fan of that. Outside of that, if you spend fiat, this means you have to hold fiat, even if for a just short amount of time. And I rather just don't hold the fiat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I think it's that evolution of understanding Bitcoin as money. It takes and yeah, because people who are observing the price of groceries go up, they're probably still not equating that with the value of the dollar going down. Because in their
Which
mind,
is
still the
crazy.
dollar is the only money or the euro, whatever. Yeah.
100%. Which is crazy for me that people complain about inflation and then say, "Oh yeah, it's Russia. Like, what the hell? Like, where does this come from? What does Russia to do with our inflation? Like,
Totally.
like Putin. Oh, okay, yeah. Of course, like war is an inflation force in some sense, but it's not the reason why we have inflation in the first place. It's just like a consequence of it, maybe.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
could.
whatever people see on TV.
Whatever people see on TV. It's also interesting. I don't know how it's in America or what you're kind of seeing in mainstream media, but I do listen to them here and there. And every time inflation comes up, they're saying like, oh yeah, like the main driver for inflation are the energy prices. And I'm like, okay, the inflation is the inflation driver now. Like the inflation in the energy market is now the driver for inflation in all the other markets. Like, okay, where does the inflation of the energy prices come from then? If like are those just greedy corporations, I guess, that they just want to drive prices up? But yeah, that's it's a whole nother topic. I could go on like for I don't know. Do you still consume mainstream media? Like I get always frustrated when I listen to them.
No, not at all. I don't own a TV. I don't have any. Um, yeah, for me, I think that like I started going down this Bitcoin journey in 2020, and I sort of realized first that the money was fake, and then I had a bigger opinion that markets are fake. Politics are fake too. I think just an unfortunate um, trade off for me in my Bitcoin journey has been I've been become just less. Uh, I don't think that any of these things they're also tied to the money lie. It's elections are just such a good example. People love to feel like if their team wins, things will be different in a way that they think is better. But no team is ever going to vote for fixing the money problem. And so as a result, it doesn't matter what political party you're rooting for, whatever solutions they bring to the table if they win are going to make everyone poorer. And that's just fact. And so for me there really isn't any point to like pay attention to politics anymore, understanding that because that's actually true everywhere. Like maybe a month ago in the U.S., Rand Paul, he's a Republican congressman, put a vote forward for balancing the U.S. federal budget in 5 years, and it was voted down 2-1 by both sides, by both parties. Like nobody wants to address the elephant in the room, and they'll talk about everything else. And so, I think it's all really just distractions, and your life isn't any better. I think, knowing about any of this stuff or not, um, you know, start saving in Bitcoin, get rid of your dollars and go outside, go enjoy nature, go skiing, go hang out with your friends. Like I think, the reason so yeah, I don't pay attention to anything mainstream anymore at all.
I couldn't find it now in the amount of time, but there's a great chart that shows basically how much money each presidency were printing in the USA, and it's just such an it's unfortunate that I cannot find it right now. I might just put it on the screen somehow later on if I find it, but it basically showed that I think the first 36 presidents or 38 presidents, something like that, they printed together 1 trillion. And then the next president in the next 4 years printed like 1.7 trillion. And then the next one printed like 8 trillion. And then it went up and up and up and up. And it was never from, I actually found it. I want to show this because I don't want to say like just like random stuff. And so this is the chart that was talking about it. It's such a great illustration. So we have now the first 39 presidents printed the first 1 trillion US dollar. You have to think about that. Like the first 39 presidents printed together 1 trillion US dollar. Then Reagan printed in 8 years 1.8 trillion. Then we had Bush in 4 years. So Bush almost printed as much money as Reagan Reagan did in 8 years and Bush did in 4 years. Then Clinton did 1.7 trillion in 8 years. Bush Jr. is 6 trillion in 8 years. So he did already like 5x what Reagan did. Then Obama really stepped up and said like 8.3 trillion in 8 years. And Trump stepped up even more. Trump printed in 4 years the same amount that Obama printed in 8 years. And so this just shows it's not a who you're voting for. It's just like every freaking president prints a lot of money, and usually more than the previous one did.
Yeah, I mean, they have to print forever or the system will collapse. So, they're going to print forever, and it doesn't matter who's in charge.
The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relay to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks, or anything else. This is a tool, an app that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relay, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called micro seed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With micro seed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because MicroSeed is not selling the washer. MicroSeed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io.